In today's video, a man notices his food mysteriously disappearing. A hidden door reveals an unexpected guest, and a discovery in the closet turns an ordinary apartment into the center of a shocking story. It was an ordinary day in Fukuoka, Japan, a bustling city known for its vibrant culture and peaceful neighborhoods. And life moved at its usual pace for Hiroshi Tanaka, a 58-year-old office worker living alone in a small, modest apartment tucked away in a quiet residential district. Hiroshi lived a simple, solitary life. His days were structured and repetitive: wake up early, catch the same train to his office job, work long hours, then return home to unwind in the comfort of his apartment. But over time, Hiroshi began to notice something strange. It started with small things. Food disappearing from his refrigerator. At first, he dismissed it as forgetfulness. Maybe he'd eaten that last yogurt and didn't remember. Or perhaps he'd miscalculated how much rice he had left. He even considered the possibility of pests sneaking into his pantry. But as the weeks turned into months, the oddities grew harder to ignore. Milk cartons seemed lighter than they should be, containers of leftovers vanished overnight, and snacks he distinctly remembered buying were nowhere to be found. Even his personal belongings, like his toothbrush or slippers, occasionally appeared slightly out of place, as if someone had touched them. Hiroshi was a meticulous person. He knew something was wrong. Could someone be entering his apartment while he was at work? The thought unsettled him. His apartment was small, with one entrance, and he always locked the door before leaving. There were no signs of forced entry, no broken windows, and nothing valuable was missing. It was a mystery. Until Hiroshi decided to take matters into his own hands. Determined to uncover the truth, Hiroshi purchased a small, motion-activated security camera, the kind you could easily hide on a bookshelf. He set it up discreetly in his living room, angled to capture the kitchen and the main entrance. His plan was simple: go about his day as usual, then review the footage when he returned. The next day, Hiroshi left for work, feeling a mix of anticipation and anxiety. When he came home that evening, he sat down with a cup of tea, opened his laptop, and began reviewing the footage. At first, everything seemed normal. The apartment was still, empty, exactly as he'd left it. The hours ticked by with nothing unusual. Until suddenly, movement. From the corner of the screen, Hiroshi watched in disbelief as the sliding door to his storage closet slowly creaked open. A figure emerged, a woman, cautiously stepping out, barefoot, wearing simple, worn clothes. She moved quietly, her actions deliberate, as if she'd done this many times before. She crept into the kitchen, opened the refrigerator, and began eating. Casually, like it was the most natural thing in the world. After finishing her meal, she cleaned up after herself, wiped down the counter, and quietly slipped back into the closet, closing the door behind her as if she had never been there. Hiroshi froze. His mind raced with questions. Who was she? How did she get in? How long had she been living there? Terrified and confused, Hiroshi immediately called the police. Within an hour, officers arrived at his apartment. They approached the small storage closet with caution, Hiroshi standing behind them, heart pounding. When they slid the door open, there she was. The woman from the footage, curled up in the cramped space, surrounded by a few personal belongings, a thin blanket, a water bottle, and a small bag of clothes. She looked thin, disheveled, and visibly frightened. The officers gently escorted her out of the closet and detained her for questioning. Her name was Yumi Shimizu, a woman in her late 40s, and what the police discovered next left everyone stunned. Yumi had been living secretly in Hiroshi's closet for over a year. She had managed to survive by sneaking out when Hiroshi was at work, eating small amounts of his food, using his bathroom, and then retreating back into the tiny storage space. She'd even figured out Hiroshi's daily routine, ensuring she was never seen. During questioning, Yumi explained that she had been homeless for several years after losing her job and falling on hard times. She had no family to turn to, no friends to help her, and nowhere to go. One day, she found Hiroshi's apartment door unlocked while he was away. Desperate for shelter, she slipped inside, planning to stay just for the night. But as days passed and she remained undetected, she realized she could survive there without anyone knowing. The closet was small, barely large enough for her to lie down, but it provided shelter, warmth, and safety, things she desperately needed. She survived on Hiroshi's food, careful not to take too much to avoid suspicion. She kept her belongings neatly tucked away, lived quietly, and cleaned up after herself, making sure not to leave any obvious signs of her presence. The police confirmed that Yumi had no criminal record. She wasn't dangerous, just a woman who had slipped through the cracks of society, surviving in the only way she knew how. Hiroshi was left shocked and deeply unsettled. The idea that someone had been living in his home undetected for over a year was difficult to process. He'd gone about his life completely unaware of the hidden presence sharing his space. But as the initial shock wore off, Hiroshi also felt something unexpected: sympathy. He later admitted, "I was terrified at first, but when I saw her, she just looked lost, like someone who had nowhere else to go." Yumi was charged with trespassing, but her story sparked widespread media attention and public debate about homelessness, mental health, and the hidden struggles faced by many in modern society. People were stunned, not just by how long she had gone unnoticed, but by the quiet desperation that led her to live in such conditions. As the story spread, many questioned how someone could survive like that, unnoticed for so long. But Yumi's case wasn't just about a bizarre discovery. It was a reflection of a deeper issue: how easy it is to overlook those who are struggling, even when they're right in front of us. For Hiroshi, the experience changed him. He upgraded his home security, of course, but he also became more aware of the invisible struggles people face. "I thought I was just living alone," he said. "But sometimes we have no idea what's right under our noses." This story went viral not just because of its bizarre nature, but because it revealed something deeper: that even in our most private spaces, we can be completely unaware of what's happening around us. What would you do if you discovered someone had been living in your home without your knowledge? Would you feel fear, anger, or compassion? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoy real-life stories that seem too strange to be true, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because sometimes the most unbelievable stories are hidden in the smallest places.